दो तीन हाउ मेनी क्लासेस में? हाँ पेपर टू कैच अप कर लोगे, कोई इशू नहीं है, कुछ कंसेप्चुअल है ही नहीं। हाँ क्या क्या छूटा है पेपर वन में? अच्छे से कुछ नहीं देखा है। Have you guys checked the score? It's an onslaught. TB Litchfield. Uh, Democracy and democracy. We'll also write a few things today. It's mostly descriptive. Conceptually, I'll explain whatever is needed to be explained. Uh, they will complete Unit 2. Okay. Unit 1 is complete. Unit 2 will complete today. Financial management unit is complete. We did it with financial administration. Yeah. The unit about union government, state government. In those units, questions are asked very much issue wise. We'll just study issue wise whatever written in the what do you say, in the syllabus. We'll just discuss the brief overview of the mechanisms, because those things you will in general cover in polity in your GS2 only. So what we'll focus on is the issues in which questions are asked in public administration. In those units we'll do that. What was the last thing that we were doing yesterday? Completed. ठीक है. Next thing we'll discuss is about political culture. Okay? So you start writing on that topic, political culture. So political culture refers to the collective set of values, beliefs, values, beliefs, attitudes and orientations, that citizens of a nation hold towards their political system and their role within it. Holds towards the political system and their role within it. It is the psychological and subjective dimension. It is the psychological and subjective dimension of politics shaping how people perceive political power, comma, authority, comma, and their own identity as citizens. Authority, comma, and their own identity as citizens. It explains or right, it influences, how a political system actually functions in practice, comma, often explaining the gap between the formal constitutional structure and the on ground political reality. Now the last line that we just wrote, okay, what does it remind you of? Just go through it again. The last line. It influences our political system. That line. Yes. Formalism in a prismatic society. Yes. So basically, what Fredericks talked about. Did you attend the Fredericks class? Yes. So Fredericks talked about. Okay? Formalism is that how officially things are written and what happens actually on ground. Okay? So political culture determines it. Okay? So basically, political culture is how the politics is there in a country. What is the relation with citizens and politics in the country? How does administration come into it, and how this interrelationship work in terms of delivering what is promised in the constitution and what actually looks like on ground. Okay? So that is what we study on political culture. We all remember, or all of we can see, the political culture in a developing country is very much marred with something called identity politics, caste politics, religion politics, uh, and especially in developed countries, we see a orientation towards issue-based politics, issues that are related to developmental in nature. And these issues are very mature issues in democracies, especially. So that is what a political culture is all about. A political culture of an authoritarian nation might be that citizens do not speak against the governing authority. In a democracy, in a functioning democracy, this might be completely different. Yes. So this is how a political culture actually works. Okay. Now, further on, you write Gabriel Almond Gabriel Almond and Sydney Verba. Almond and Verba, Gabriel Almond and Sydney Verba. Okay. Gabriel Almond and Sydney Verba's type of political culture. They have given certain type of political culture. There are three pure types of political culture. Three pure types. First is parochial. Parochial, where citizens have very low awareness of national political system. Where citizens have very low awareness of national political system. Their primary allegiance is to the tribe or local community. Their primary allegiance is to the tribe or local community. They expect little to nothing from the central government. They expect little to nothing from the central government. Okay. Second type is called subject. Subject. Citizens are aware of the national political system and its outputs. National political system and its outputs like laws, beneficiary schemes, etc. But the relationship is passive in nature. The relationship is passive in nature. They see themselves as subject of the government. They see themselves as subjects of the government and not active participants in shaping its decisions. And not active participants in shaping its decisions. And the third type is participant. Third type is participant. Citizens have a high level of awareness. Citizens have a high level of awareness and are actively engaged in the political process. They believe that they can influence government decisions and feel a sense of civic duty to participate. And feel a sense of civic duty to participate. India's political culture can be best described as a mixed or transitional culture. India's political culture is best described as a mixed or transitional culture. It exhibits characteristics. It exhibits characteristics of both the subject and participant types. Of both the subject and participant types. This mix is due to the vast socio-economic diversity. The vast socio-economic diversity and the ongoing process of democratic deepening. vast socio-economic diversity, and the ongoing process of democratic deepening. These are keywords: democratic deepening. Now, so this is what these are three classifications that Almond and Wahba are saying, that in a political culture, uh, which according to you is the best political culture among these three? Participant, very easy. Why so? So participant is the most democratic among them all. Yes. So political culture is determined by what is the involvement or the level of involvement of people in the administration and governance of a nation. That determines the quality of political culture that particular country has. Okay. Now, uh, among the political culture, now we get a sense that political culture is very much important uh, to shape where the country is going. If it is a participant political culture, that means citizens will always have a control of where the country is going. If it is not, it is parochial in nature, then whatever the leader decide, whatever few people decide, it will go towards that. There is a risk, high risk, that it not becoming a very citizen centric government. Yes, that's the threat. Now, within the political culture, because it's a topic in paper too. Of course, we know the theoretical perspective of Gabriel Almond and Sidney Verba, but our main role is to understand what are these components of political culture within India. Yeah. We say, okay, this is a mixed type, but that's not enough. Why it is a mixed type? What are the components within it? Why people are acting as subjects in some cases and participant in other cases? What has been the impact on Indian administration because of this? This is what we'll have to see. Okay? So let's write further that what are the components of uh, the political culture in India? So let's start with value system, right? Value system. So value system of Indian political culture. Value system of Indian political culture is basically of two types. A more traditional type and a more modern constitutional type. So when it comes to traditional types, the example would be Raja Dharma or Dharma or Raja Dharma. That means the duty of a king or duty of a what do you say, a government. Okay, so under Kautilya we studied this. Okay. Secondly, the second of modern constitution would be constitutionalism. Constitutionalism that has been laid down uh, under the Indian Constitution, and that is ensured by things such as separation of power, fundamental rights, etc. Okay? That is constitutionalism. Now, secondly, after values, you write the next thing. The next feature or next component is interplay of caste, religion, and language. This also influences political culture. Yes. So caste as a mobilizing factor, a point within this, right? Caste as a mobilizing factor. So it determines political behavior with political parties, often appealing to caste-based identities for electoral gains. A lot of regional parties, they are driven by those backing from those dominant castes in different states. So these are regional parties in these states. Next would be religion and politics. Even though constitution prescribes secularism, in real life religion and appealing to religious sentiments is a common feature during Indian elections. Next idea comes linguistic regionalism. This influences linguistic regionalism. This influences state level politics, regional identity, state level politics, regional identity, in and influences center state relations. Example of this would be Tamil Nadu, right? The very pride of Tamil identity. Okay? It sometimes becomes, this become very regionalist in nature and comes in conflict with the center state relations. Okay? So, Tamil regionalism. Next is culture of democratic participation. Next point is culture of democratic participation and apathy. Hmm? Hmm. Culture of democratic participation and apathy. There is a paradoxical, there is a paradoxical coexistence of high levels of electoral participation, high levels of electoral participation and degree of political apathy, and degree of political apathy. You understand this? You understand the term apathy? That means voters, you always see voters saying कि कोई भी आ जाए कुछ नहीं बदलने वाला. That shows hopelessness. किसी को भी ये कांग्रेस बीजेपी किसी को भी लाओ कुछ नहीं बदलने वाला. We have heard that all are the same. We have seen our grandparents और ये सब लूट खाएंगे कोई भी आए. That is what voter apathy is all about. Even though they will go to vote, they'll still say नहीं किसी को भी दो क्या फर्क पड़ता है. This shows this is the paradox. So whenever going to vote, at least there is 60-70% voter turnout. But whenever you go and ask them, they'll say कुछ नहीं काम हुआ. So this shows a paradox. Now next, centrality of the state and the culture of dependency. Centrality of the state and a culture of dependency. There is a strong expectation. There is a strong expectation from the state to be the primary provider and problem solver. Primary provider and problem solver. We can write example COVID-19. You wanted the government to step in whenever a problem happens. This tendency of expectation or this expectation is the legacy of the socialist orientation of independent India. Of the socialist orientation of independent India, which led to a my bap culture. Use these terms in your exams. These are keywords. My बाप कल्चर. हाँ हाँ यही लिखना है. यार ये थोड़ा ज्यादा हो जाएगा, बट ये ऑफिशियली जो तो फ्रीडम है, बट इतना भी नहीं। हम्म। हम्म। क्या चीज? यहाँ मतलब ये सब तो नहीं लिख सकता, बट ये जो ऑफिशियल टर्म्स में यूज होता है ना, ये सब लिखा जाता है। द माई बाप कल्चर, माई बाप कल्चर वेयर citizens often look to the government for solutions to all their problems. This attitude, this attitude at times leads to stifling of individual and community initiative, of individual and community initiative. So do you understand this, that state or people are so much dependent on state, anything they want, they'll go to the state. Anything they want, a job, they won't think that we'll start a business or will create jobs, they'll go to the state. Whenever you see, why do you see the, if you see recent election pictures in Bihar, yeah, before, because Bihar election is coming, you will see lot of these lot of politicians are saying will come, will bring out these many jobs, will bring out this, will bring out that. So that shows that voters are very much, or individuals or citizens in this kind of a culture, they are very much dependent on state for everything. Okay? Anything they want, a job, they won't create a job, they won't start a business, they'll go to the state and say, give us jobs. Okay? And of course, in a democracy, it's the right of the citizens to ask from the state whatever they want. But again, there are two sides of the same coin. Of course, state is responsible to provide you all of this. But also at times, we haven't said that every time this happens. At times, people are too much dependent on the state. That how do we know that state will, whatever state will do, we'll see. That means giving out everything on the state. Okay? So this particular culture, this reduces individual initiative, or that spirit of enterprise. Yes. That's why lot of government schemes that are there to promote entrepreneurship fail, because even though government is providing a lot of things, the culture between the citizens is that way that we I mean, we don't want to take an initiative, or we don't want to take a risk. Yes. So that is the reason lot of culture, or in India, the spirit of enterprise, entrepreneurship is very much problem. What is the score? Who out? Litchfield, 161. How much is the score total? 212. How many overs? Every time you check, you might share. Pawan is very quick with the updates. So 2 wickets down total. I remember whenever there used to be these knockout matches. My grandfather used to say, नहीं नहीं ये हार जाएंगे. ये पता नहीं क्यों खेलने आते हैं, these type of things. Next point, you're right. Pervasiveness, pervasiveness, pervasiveness of patronage and clientism, of patronage and clientism. Political relationships. Political relationships are often built on patronage. Are often built on patronage. Political leaders. Political leaders distribute resources and favors in exchange for loyalty. In exchange for loyalty and electoral support. In exchange for loyalty and electoral support. Hmm. Buying of votes, giving promotion to bureaucrat from your own caste. Okay, then I mean those external favors that are done to people. Hmm? Under the table, everything that goes on. This clientistic, this clientistic, this clientistic relationship can undermine merit-based governance. Can undermine merit-based governance and lead to inefficient allocation of resources. Lead to inefficient allocation of resources. Next point, growing assertion of rights and the culture of protest. Growing assertion of rights and the culture of protest. So there has been a noticeable increase in right-based activism. Right? Example, role of civil society. Has been instrumental in advocating rights such as right to information, right to education, environmental protection, etc. Write a couple of theoretical perspectives also. Um, Lucian Pye, right? Lucian Pye. Remove Lucian Pye, write this. Myron Weiner. Myron Weiner. Weiner's work, Weiner's work on India's party politics and persistence of child labor despite laws illustrate the gap between formal political structure and the ground realities. Final thing you write, final point under the components, judicial activism. An assertive and active judiciary, plays a vital role in protecting fundamental rights, protecting fundamental rights, interpreting constitutional values, interpreting constitutional values, and often filling institutional or policy gaps. This has fostered this has fostered rights consciousness, rights consciousness among citizens, and has promoted judicial recourses such as public interest litigation, judicial recourses such as public interest litigation. This is the last among the components, because we'll have to also write about Panchayati Raj, no? Panchayati Raj, no? Right? Panchayati Raj or local decentralization of government. Panchayati Raj, it increases grassroots political engagement and has increased participation of marginalized groups such as women. Increased participation of marginalized groups such as women. So this also influences political culture. Okay, so that at the street level bureaucracy is very much checked by these Panchayati Raj institutions. Okay, so next, so you understand now political culture, basically what influences political culture in India. Next comes impact on administration. Next is a topic within unit 2. Next is impact on administration. Right, the prevailing political culture directly shapes directly shapes the behavior and functioning of public administration. Directly shapes the behavior and functioning of public administration. This line that we just discussed, that we just wrote, what is this? Where have we studied a similar thing? Yes, ecological approach. Good. The night mirrors societal values. Administrative behavior often reflects broader societal values. Mirrors societal values. This can be seen in persistence of paternalism. This can be seen in persistence of paternalism and hierarchy in decision making, and a public reverence for official authority. Hierarchy in decision making and a public reverence for official authority. Reverence for official authority. Okay. Next is erosion of political neutrality. The key feature of Westminster model of bureaucracy, that is stemming from that Weberian model of bureaucracy that we studied, Westminster style of model of bureaucracy, the key feature is political neutrality. However, in Indian administration, this has been challenged. How has this been challenged? What challenges political neutrality in India? Hmm. And conflict between left and right. That means political influence. What else? Hmm? Conservatism, religion should come within this, both caste and religion. What also influences neutrality? So, political neutrality of the administrator. So, that is the budget maximizing nature. Uh, who gave this line? William is coming. Hmm. Uh, what what else did you say? Uh, four is what? Why is it not neutral? कास्ट और रिलीजन उसमें आ गया कंजर्वेटिज्म में और क्या लिख सकते हैं व्हाई इज politics not neutral administration is not neutral capacity building lack of commitment to public service lack of public service commitment what else uh, patronage system कितना लिख लो पहले so we are writing this on the impact on administration na? So right impact of identity politics on administrative functioning. लिटरेसी और कैपेबिलिटी में, हाँ, बट पॉलिटिकल न्यूट्रलिटी इवेंचुअली धीरे धीरे कम हो रहा है, इवन दो लिटरेसी रेट बढ़ रहा है, वो भी तो है। तो एक लीडर कितना इफेक्टिव है, इट्स नॉट नेसेसरी दैट ही इज लिटरेट और नॉट, बट न्यूट्रलिटी की बात हो रही है ना, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव न्यूट्रलिटी की बात हो रही है, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का पॉलिटिकल न्यूट्रलिटी की बात हो रही है कि वो कहीं एक को फेवर कर रहा है दूसरे के ऊपर, जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर है। तो तुम कह रहे हो अगर if the political boss is illiterate, it leads to more conservatism. That's a stretch. क्योंकि if somebody is uneducated or somebody is illiterate, that does not mean that person is very conservative in nature. You might see, especially among women, certain strong caste or religious thinking is comparatively less as compared to men, even though literacy among women is lower as compared to men. Yes? So, I mean, we shouldn't do that. So that is the reason why, whenever it was asked that these political leaders, there should be a minimum criteria, education criteria for these political leaders, across to stand in election. If anybody wants to stand in election, there should be a minimum criteria of they should be at least graduate or 12th pass. But the argument for this is education does not guarantee competence in politics, and it does not necessarily mean that if a person is educated, that person will be very much what do you say, will work for the people. What happened? What? So if somebody who is very educated, he can be more effectively exploitative as compared to who is not educated. Very because when we see cyber terrorism, especially these examples you'll write in ethics, that skill does not mean ethics or morality. So you can be a very skillful doctor, you can be a very good doctor, but that does not mean you are a very ethical doctor. So you can use your skill as a doctor to promote infanticide, female infanticide or female feticide. So things such as that. So skill does not necessarily guarantee. With education comes skill, and with skill it does not necessarily guarantee morality. We must have seen that a lot of our grandmothers would be uneducated, maybe, but still they have a lot of morality in them. So I mean, that's not a point that we can write in exam. What was the point that we were discussing? Identity politics on administration. हाँ, उसमें लिखो the mobilization of caste mobilization of caste, religious and linguistic identities in the political arena has a direct bearing on the administration. Has a direct bearing on the administration. Representation versus efficiency. Representation versus efficiency. While the policy of reservation has been crucial for emancipation. It at times becomes a tool for identity based politics. It at times becomes a tool for identity based politics within the administration. Next feature is vote bank politics and policy implementation within this component only. Vote bank politics and policy implementation. The compulsions of vote bank politics can lead to, or vote bank politics can lead to, formulation, formulation and implementation of policies that cater to specific identity groups, rather than broader public interest, rather than broader public interest. This results in skewed development, and inequitable distribution of resources, and inequitable distribution of resources. Next point is communalism and law and order. The rise of communalism in politics put significant pressure on the administration, particularly the police, during administrative tensions, during administrative tensions. During communal tensions. The perceived neutrality and impartiality of the administration is severely tested during such situations. During such situations. Mhm. Then the next impact will be impact of that MyBap culture, right? Impact of that MyBap culture. Right, this translates for administrators. This translates into a top-down paternalistic approach to governance. A top-down paternalistic approach to governance, where citizens are seen as passive recipients of services, rather than active participants. Next point, right? Populism and its impact on administration. populism that is characterized by promises of freebies, promises of freebies and subsidies to win elections. In example, right, farm loan waivers, freebies and subsidies to win elections. Example, farm loan waivers. You understand farm loan waivers? Farm loan waivers होता है, for example, if the farmers have taken a lot of loans, okay? So for agriculture, a political party or during election time, the political party will say, you don't have to pay this back. Once we come to power, we will waive off the loans you have taken. Okay? So this shows this attitude or a culture of populism. Populism means whatever is popular among people, you spread that scheme, even though it is not good for the banks, it is not good for the economy. Okay? This is not good for the political culture. The bureaucracy, in this case, the bureaucracy is often tasked with implementing these populist schemes which may not be economically sustainable or conducive to long term development. Economically sustainable or conducive to long term development. Conducive to long term development. All are tired? Yes or no? No. How many classes do you take a day? When there are other GS classes you have, or just only one? GS you have completed? Hmm? ये bankrupt हो गई? Which coaching is this? किसमें? चाणक्य. Okay. तो अभी वो एग्जिस्ट करता है वो कोचिंग या नहीं? नहीं करता. अरे तो कंप्लीट किया था सिलेबस? बड़े बड़े क्या होता है, तो फेमस तो कोई भी हो जाता है. हाँ, एटलीस्ट क्लास में पहले बताना चाहिए कि भाई ये चीजें खुद से करनी है या ऐसा करनी है, ताकि ट्रांसपेरेंसी रहे. Yeah. Lot of coachings like this. Lot of coachings, and it also depends from teacher to teacher about how responsible one is. Of course, on the management also, किस type के लोग hire कर रहे हैं. I have seen that. I mean, the bigger the name, the more things they say which are not relevant. But I mean, this is. So, how did you cover your GS then? Self. स्टैंडर्ड बुक्स कर लेना. अच्छा. Hmm. Pawan, can you open the syllabus? That Lotus, some IS link you sent me, that's really good. Political culture, so what is remaining is bureaucracy and bureaucracy and development. These two things are remaining. 1 hour will complete this. You have started revising all of these things, huh? Whatever units are fulfilling, start writing answers on these PYQs. Hmm. Now, when we say uh, development, development is very much holistic in nature. Okay? It also means development of social development. Okay? Um, Social development like education, healthcare, infrastructural development, scientific development, uh, development of culture. Okay? If you have rich heritage, if you are preserving that rich heritage, that is also development. Getting a lot of economic growth, that is also development. That means the definition of development changes from society to society. So, example, Bhutan will say if their population is becoming more happier every year, they'll say development is happening. Even though they wouldn't lay down a single kilometer of road, still their population is more happier because they are living in a very good environment. Okay, they are content with their life. That is a metric of development. Hmm. So usually we measure development according to gross domestic product, right? GDP. But Bhutan measures it by gross happiness index. How much happy are our population? That means development is a very much subject is a very subjective idea. Now, when the question is asked, bureaucracy and development, okay, let's first do bureaucracy and development, then we'll do bureaucracy and democracy, or just understand this very idea of development. So, when we say the role of bureaucracy in a democracy and the role of bureaucracy in carrying out development in a democracy, that means this definition of development changes from places to places. In Hindi, there is a saying, right? कि घाट घाट में बदले पानी हर चार कोस से बदले बानी, right? So that means in every ghat the water changes, and in every few miles the language in India changes. चार कोस में बदले बानी. So this means what? This means what people's culture are is very much different. So we have just seen this is the Western way of measuring development, gross domestic produce, and this is a more Bhutanese way of measuring development. Yes. So the East or the eastern parts of the world, the Orient, as they say, in the eastern parts of the world, more of Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, the roots of spiritualism is significantly there in these societies. Yes. But in the West, there is more materialistic tendencies, more and more individualistic tendencies are there. Life is more individualistic. Life is after chasing material goals. How much money, how much car, how much house. But when we come to East Asia or Southeast Asia, we see significant influence of religions such as Buddhism, Hinduism, Jainism, which in these religions, a renunciation has a value of reverence. It has a high value. If you are sacrificing something, that has high value. So there are certain values, or there are certain what do you say? There are certain virtues, hmm, and which are very much prized in society. Okay, so when it comes to development, this development is very different if you ask a different person. If you ask somebody in Delhi, he'll say, okay, this is development. If you ask a young kid, what is development? He will say McDonald's is development, internet is development, these things. If you ask your grandmother what is development, they might say adequate food for us is development, safety in the household is development. Yes. So that means development changes. Development is very subjective in nature. Similarly, if you ask a person working in uh, that Marine Drive area of Mumbai, what is it called? That expensive area. For example, in the Marine Drive, uh, if a person in Mumbai is working in the stock market, ask what is development and say, increase in stock prices, increase in their portfolio. But if you ask a tribal, what is development? He might say, very normal basic thing such as good weather. Okay. Such as if they're going to hunt tomorrow, if they get something, that means that's also development for them. Okay, their kid, if they have 3 kids, all of them survive and are in good health, that is also development. So this idea of development is very subjective in nature. One thing we understood this. Now, what is bureaucracy? When we say bureaucracy, the one thing that which thinker did we study under bureaucracy? Max Weber. What kind of bureaucracy or what kind of system was bureaucracy? Legal rational system. That means something that is backed by laws and that is backed by rationality or logic. Okay? So whenever Weber is saying this Weberian bureaucracy, when we talk about Weberian bureaucracy, this was very much created to work in a setup that is more Western in nature. In a Western industrialized nation, this legal rational authority system or this legal rational bureaucracy that Weber talked about, this applies. Or it was created for those kind of society. When we supplant that idea, bringing from Britain to India, when structurally it is implanted into India, a lot of problems will originally happen, because for this society, this administrative system or this bureaucracy was not meant for this society. That means there will be some problems, there will be some friction. So inherently, what will happen is there will be a conflict between bureaucracy, what bureaucracy thinks is development, and what the society thinks is development. Yes? Because why? This bureaucratic system is Western in nature. And development is subjective. What West thinks development and what East thinks development are very much different. Therefore, this legal rational authority system that Weber has created, it created conflict also. It created, of course, some material development. Of course, significant amount of material development has happened. But there is an inherent conflict between bureaucracy and whatever people want. And in the political system that showcases what people want is called democracy. People are ruling themselves. So there is an inherent conflict and contradiction between both bureaucracy and democracy. Okay? Now, what inside that democracy, whatever people will demand, if that is fulfilled, it is called development. If people are demanding more healthcare and education, you fulfill it, that is development. People are demanding clean air, clean water, more forest cover, more time for recreation. That is development if that happens. So basically, a society, whatever it wants, and if the bureaucracy is not able to deliver, that means bureaucracy is a what do you say, impediment to development. If bureaucracy is delivering that, it is promoting development. That is the logic. Now you understand that what bureaucracy's role in a democracy and in development is, and how development and expectation from bureaucracy is changing. Okay? Now let's write something, and then we'll take a break 5 minutes. Bureaucracy and democracy. It is a relationship marked by. It is a relationship marked by by a fundamental paradox. Democracy requires bureaucracy. Democracy without bureaucracy. Oh, sorry. Democracy requires bureaucracy to translate the will of the people. To translate the will of the people into tangible actions. Into tangible action. Yet, the very nature of bureaucracy. The very nature of bureaucracy can pose a threat to democratic values. Can pose a threat to democratic values. Then, right, next point. Democracy provides the legitimacy and mandate for governance. Democracy provides the legitimacy and mandate for governance, while bureaucracy provides the capacity and machinery. While bureaucracy provides the capacity and machinery to execute that mandate. The fundamental challenge for uh, the fundamental challenge for any modern state, is to harness the efficiency and rationality of bureaucracy without allowing it to undermine the accountability, participation, and liberty. Accountability, participation, and liberty, that are the hallmarks of democracy. Let's take a 5 minute break.
आधे घंटे पहले आया अभी मैंने पूछा कि हाँ भाई मैं नहीं मैं मेट्रो स्टेशन के पास में आया मैं आया वो मेरे को हाँ ठीक है नंबर होगा हाँ थैंक यू
कैसे चल रहा है आकाश? समझ में आ रहा है क्या सब कुछ? इको भी सही है। पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन पेपर 1 में कितना छूटा हुआ है तुम्हारा? हो गया लगभग? नहीं नहीं, उससे पहले तुम्हारे ज्वाइन करने से पहले जो क्लासेस हुए थे और ऑनलाइन कर लिया? नोट्स पढ़ के हो गया? नोट्स पढ़ के समझ आ रहा है? ठीक है। फिर रेफरेंस के लिए वो लेक्चर्स अगर वो देख लें। हाँ, बाकी तो तुमने लेट ज्वाइन किया है, तो जो नेक्स्ट सेशन में पेपर 1 स्टार्ट होगा, जब पेपर 2 खत्म हो जाएगा, पेपर 1 फिर से स्टार्ट होगा। तो जितना भी तुम्हारा लेक्चर है तुम उसमें भी अटेंड कर लेना। ये तुमने बीच में ज्वाइन किया था ना? हाँ, तो उससे पहले जितने लेक्चर हुए थे, तो नेक्स्ट जब बैच स्टार्ट होगा उसमें पढ़ लेना। हाँ हाँ, तुम्हारा क्योंकि बीच में स्टार्ट हुआ है ना। तो जो जो यूनिट तुमने अटेंड किया है तुम्हारे एडमिशन के बाद, जो जो यूनिट हुआ है और पहले जो जो यूनिट हो चुका है, वो तुम नेक्स्ट टाइम में अटेंड करोगे। वो देख लेना, वो ऑफलाइन ही अटेंड करोगे तुम तो। 1, how's the GS going? What all is remaining? 10 classes. Of which subject? IR. And what sources are you studying for that? Class notes and standard books. What all standard books? Hmm. Hmm. Economy or art and culture? Economy there is nothing. Acha. How is it? Fine. No. And politics and art. Where is he? Went home. Acha, okay, okay. Shall we start? What were we doing the last? उसमें क्या लिखा था लास्ट में? हाँ? हाँ. हाँ. Now next write, let's write something about Weber so that we remember in this. Max Weber. Weber saw bureaucracy. Weber saw bureaucracy as the most rational, efficient, and technically superior form of organization. Technically superior form of organization, making it essential for the modern state. Making it essential for the modern state. However, he gave two profound warnings. Those are iron cage of rationality, iron cage of rationality, and rule by officials. So the bureaucrats' permanence give them immense power, as they are unelected and unaccountable officials. Karl Marx, viewed bureaucracy, viewed bureaucracy not as a neutral tool, not as a neutral tool, but as an integral part of state apparatus, integral part of state apparatus that serves the interest, that serves the interest of the ruling capitalist class, serves the interest of the ruling capitalist class. He argued, he argued that it is an instrument of oppression that maintains the existing social order. Existing social order. Then write Robert Merton's idea. Robert Merton talks about two things that uh, uh, pathologies of bureaucracy. First thing is goal displacement. So rigid adherence to rule rather than the end. Huh? Robert Merton, goal displacement. Goal displacement. So rigid adherence to rule rather than the end. Then second point is trained incapacity. They are trained to follow rules. Trained incapacity, trained to follow rules, and are incapable of adapting to new situations. This attitude is detrimental. This attitude is detrimental in a dynamic democratic society. In a dynamic democratic society that demands flexibility. That demands flexibility. Next idea is of Peter Self. SELF. Peter Self. Okay. Self argued that bureaucracy tends to expand its authority under the guise of expertise. Under the guise of expertise, potentially undermining democratic oversight. Now, the next point that we write is, what is the complementary relationship between bureaucracy and democracy? So first, bureaucracy provides capacity. Bureaucracy provides capacity. That means capacity to deliver goods and services. Capacity to deliver goods and services. Provides capacity. Democracy provides legitimacy. Democracy provides legitimacy, which gives public sanction to administrative actions. Which gives public sanctions to administrative actions. The third is mutual support. Mutual support. Bureaucracy offers bureaucracy offers stability and expertise. Stability and expertise, allowing politicians to focus on the big picture. Allowing politicians to focus on the big picture. Politicians provide the bureaucracy with clear goals and protect it from undue social pressure. And protect it from undue social pressure. Okay. Now the next is conflicting relations between them. Conflicting relations. Accountability versus autonomy. Accountability versus autonomy. Democracy demands that bureaucrats be accountable to elected officials. That bureaucrats be accountable to elected officials. However, for efficiency and impartiality, bureaucrats need a degree of professional autonomy. Professional autonomy free from arbitrary political interference. Free from arbitrary political interference. This is the constant balancing act. Next point is elitism versus egalitarianism. Elitism versus egalitarianism. The hierarchical and knowledge-based nature of bureaucracy can foster an elitist mindset which clashes with the democratic ideals of equality. Elitist mindset which clashes with the democratic ideals of equality. Next, we'll do bureaucracy and development. Bureaucracy uh, has two phases of development. Bureaucracy has two phases of development. Bureaucracy as an agent of development, that is the positive role. Bureaucracy as the agent of development. How so? First, policy implementation. So it is the machinery that executes all developmental schemes, such as building roads to delivering food security. Second is nation building. In the early years, the machinery or the All India Services machinery played a crucial role in integrating a diverse country and establishing a uniform administrative system. Uh, Next is it ensures equality. Not equality, it ensures equity, because the bureaucracy is responsible for implementing affirmative action policies or implementing reservation policies. Implementing reservation policies and welfare schemes that are targeted at marginalized communities. Next role of developmental role is crisis management. It is the state's first responder. During natural disaster, famines, pandemics, managing relief and rehabilitation efforts. So this is not exhaustive. What you have written is not exhaustive. There are much more roles that you can write on your own. Whenever you find something, you can add to it. So leave some spaces if you want, or else, because such type of questions are not asked directly from this topic, it will be asked in a very generic sense. So you will have to include this knowledge. Okay? This is a very generic topic. What is the bureaucracy's role in development? So the main points we have written: nation building, so they're integrating the country after partition, after independence. Next, let's write bureaucracy's role. Bureaucracy's role, or bureaucracy as an obstacle to development. Bureaucracy as an obstacle to development. How is bureaucracy an obstacle? Tell me what all things are coming to your mind. कैसे bureaucracy is an obstacle to to development? How does bureaucracy stop development? Lack of fund. जैसे कि ब्यूरोक्रेसी का क्या रोल है डेवलपमेंट को रोक कैसे रही है ब्यूरोक्रेसी ब्यूरोक्रेसी की वजह से डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो रहा है क्या क्या चीजें हो सकती हैं so giving the heavy points first right? Polyfunctionalism hmm. Polyfunctionalism and how is this stopping development hmm. Yes, absolutely. So polyfunctionalism means a single structure is performing multiple functions. For example, uh, there is a tehsildar's office. The tehsildar is also acting uh, for his caste group, also acting as an arbitrator of caste disputes, who does not fall under his jurisdiction. Okay? So that means uh, again polyfunctionalism in bureaucracy, the penetration of all social evils, okay, such as the caste system within the bureaucracy. So within the bureaucracy also, people must be discriminated on the basis of their caste or their religion. Some promotions might not be given, or people from certain region might not be favored. Okay? So that is also a reason. What other obstacles? How does bureaucracy acts as an obstacle to development? Think basic things. Corruption. टाइम क्यों लग रहा है तो टिप्स पे होना चाहिए और व्हाट एल्स स्टार्ट दोस कीवर्ड्स क्या रेड टेपिज्म और impartiality is an obstacle to development partiality partiality then what can be more political interference political interference but how is bureaucracy acting as an obstacle when there is political interference elitism is there hmm? Elitism is being an impediment lack of public service motivation lack of public service motivation what other problems we faced before 1991 liberalization no adaptability yes recently just now we discussed adaptability or rigidity rule orientation or rule boundedness.
Overburdened state of
State is overburdened in nature. State is overburdened. Next. What else will be there? Mm, the term bureaupathology will also be implied. Bureaupathology. That bureaucracy is there are a lot of disease is acting as a diseased institution that is stopping any kind of developmental initiative. Yes. So you write a few things. Hmm? Elitism means bureaucracy समझती है कि that citizens are below them and will do whatever we want to do. Yes. So you write these points, write down these points. Okay. Hmm. Uh, Add another point. I'm dictating. Lack of specialization. Lack of specialization. The dominance of generalist administrators can lead to poor policy formulation in an increasingly complex world. In an increasingly complex world. In an increasingly complex world. Then comes reforming the bureaucracy, or how do we reform the bureaucracy? How do we reform the bureaucracy for 21st century? Hmm. First, focus should be more on or shift from government to governance. shift from government to governance. Second, promoting citizen centricity. Citizen centricity. Then comes leveraging technology, e-governance. Then right capacity building, encouraging specialization, whatever that is. Basically, whatever we discussed on the under second ARC. Okay. Next, what is remaining in Unit 2? Just check. Hmm? Let's discuss one or two questions now. What was the last question we did yesterday? Hmm. How do, right question, how do constitutional values, how do constitutional values shape the conduct and accountability of civil servants in India? Conduct and accountability of civil servants in India. Elucidate. It won't be elucidate. No, no. The question is how. So just a question mark. That's it. Answer this. So just read the question and explain to me what does it mean. Okay. What all have you written? Pointers. What is the question saying? So, how do constitutional values shape the conduct and accountability of civil servants? Okay. What are these constitutional values that we are talking about? What are these constitutional values? Hmm. Secularism. Then justice. Yes. Justice is a very important part. You should write in every answer when it comes to constitutional values. Justice, social, economic, and political. Just think about the preamble. You go home today, just read and reread the preamble for the next 7 days. Every day, just read it once. एक बार पढ़ने में क्या जा रहा है? 15 सेकंड जाएंगे. But it will help you a lot. So that you know those keywords. Justice, social, economic, and political. Equality, liberty, fraternity. Okay. These are the keywords that you need to use. ठीक है, पेपर 2 में ये बहुत काम आएगा. ठीक है. So the question is asking, what are these constitutional values and how are these constitutional values guiding the civil servant in becoming more shape the conduct and accountability of civil servants. Okay? So conduct should be towards serving the public. Conduct is that means serving the public and delivering justice to public, both social, economic, and political. How? By delivering development in a very equitable manner, doing their job very well. Okay. So first thing that we write that what are these values that are there. Okay. So from the preamble, we write things such as equality, justice, etc., etc. How are they driving the civil servant? How are these values driving the civil servant? So we make a parallel. Okay, this value: justice, social, economic, and political. These three. Okay. How are each of these driving the civil servant? Okay. Then we move on to the next value. For example, equality. Equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all. Okay. That is the line written in the preamble. That means how is the civil servant in this process of implementing equality, how he is becoming more and more accountable to the citizenry. And what is the next word that is used? Shape the conduct and accountability. Now the conduct is towards what? Conduct is service to the public. Yeah. The public service motivation towards the public. So that is how conduct is shaped. Then next value, for example, liberty. How it is shaping the conduct. For example, you are letting the public express their anger, their grievances in a more democratic way. So this is also shaping the conduct. And how it is accountable. For example, RTI. So RTI, if people can access RTI, now the bureaucrat is more and more accountable to the public and has to be answerable for whatever work he is doing. Yes. So what other values can be there? Constitutional values shape. Then what? Fraternity. Because fraternity. How does a fraternity shapes a bureaucrat's public conduct or their accountability? To be friendly, what are the examples? For example, community policing or role of police during a riot. So if a police is not politically neutral, it will favor one side over the other during a riot. Yes. So if we promote things such as secularism and fraternity, this protects the police action during a riot. So this is how administration, civil servants conduct. Okay, so civil servant is now more politically neutral during a situation of riot. It works on more and more reconciliation between different communities. Okay, and it promotes things such as it promotes more and more accountability towards people or different minorities. Minorities now can voice their opinion, and this is promoting in the long run democratic ideals of the constitution. Next, point that we write, next what will we write? What is other values? But in fundamental rights, think what other values? This is right to life. That means protection of human rights, basic human rights. So we write. So in these cases, we start writing judgments. Okay, we start writing judgments such as Olga Tellis case. That means in Olga Tellis case, what happened was, or Hussein Ara Khatun case. Olga Tellis or Hussein Ara Khatun case, for example, in Olga Tellis case, what happened was the Brihan Mumbai Municipal Corporation, what they did was, there were slum dwellers living on footpath. So they broke down every dwelling they had made and displaced them. Now the matter went to court. Now court said it is the government's responsibility to provide housing to people who are living in the footpath. They are not living there by choice. It is their economic and social circumstance that has led them to live in a footpath. That is why it's a government responsibility. So this comes under right to life. That means right to life or to right to live with dignity, basic dignity. Similarly, in Hussein Ara Khatun case, the people who were inside the prison for a very long time, who were under trials in nature, they were suffering even without adjudged guilty. Okay, so this was the case that went on to start the culture of PIL in India. Okay? Now we write such judgments that things such as human rights. Okay, this is a constitutional value. This is a constitutional value, and how it shapes administration. Administration will improve the prison systems. Administration will treat the slum dwellers or footpath dwellers with more human dignity. It will make them accountable or answerable that why people are living there. Okay, so we bring in different judgments and the perspective of these judgments. Okay, then what other fundamental right we can write? Such as abolition of untouchability. Okay? Article 17. Abolition of untouchability, we can write that whenever, anywhere, caste-based discrimination is happening, that means administration is answerable for that. Yes, and it makes administration inherently accountable for whatever is going on. Yes, so that is why caste-based discrimination makes them accountable for whatever there is, and their conduct is shaped by treating every caste neutrally. You can't favor somebody or not favor somebody on the basis of their caste, isn't it? Yes. So that is why this is very much required. Okay? What other fundamental right? Article 19. Freedom of speech and expression, we have covered this under liberty rabe. But of course, article wise also we can go. Child labor one. So right against exploitation. So individuals have right against exploitation. So government or the civil servants have a responsibility to create conditions when these exploitative scenarios do not arise. People are skilled enough. So that means people are capable enough to have some freedom, have some choices. Because development is freedom and freedom is development. Amartya Sen's idea. So we write these ideas, we write these judgments in such a fashion. So you can understand how broad the implementation of this is, because we cannot be very much limited to whatever notes we have written or how we think. That means we have to write a lot of other things also, a lot of GS2 things also, because these things are not very limited in nature. ये ऐसे ही लिख लिख के ऐसे ही लिख लिख के और कोई तरीका ही नहीं है. हाँ मतलब वही क्लास में डिस्कस करने का यही पॉइंट है ना. हाँ खुद से लिख लिख के खुद से पढ़ पढ़ के वही. There is no other way than painstaking practice or way है ही नहीं. We are sitting here for what more than 2 hours and we are still going on. Of course, it's not always enjoyable, but वो करना तो पड़ेगा. How do you build confidence? How do you build capability? Where will freedom come? And this is the role of freedom. You right. Let's discuss another question. Short question. So the cases, right? There's another PYQ. This is another PYQ. The Supreme Court of India has played the role of guardian of the Constitution. Has played the role of guardian of the Constitution. Comment with reference to administrative implications. Comment with reference to administrative implications. See, I'll also probably sometime in class or even whenever your classes end, I'll also give you a compilation of a few judgments that you should read. So you can write in your mention in your answers. It's very much important. I'll start compiling them and I'll give you those compilations. You start solving this question. Because the trend that is happening with time, with especially GS2 and public administration also, they are focusing significantly on the judgments of the Supreme Court. I mean, that is how you interpret constitution and polity eventually, right? So that is why it becomes very much important for us to study these things, these judgments. Certain landmark judgments, 20, 25 judgments, I'll give you, 1, 2 pager of that. You start reading them again and again. Okay? You start reading them again and again so that it becomes embedded in your mind. So naturally it comes to you. Solve. This needs Supreme Court judgments. Hmm. But how does Supreme Court influence this thing, administrative implications? Yesterday, I guess I discussed a judgment. What judgment did I discuss? So what does that judgment ensure? But what else? Under what topic was I giving this example? Liberty is one thing. Rule of law. Rule of law. So that administration does not act arbitrarily. It acts according to law. So rule of law is very much important. Now under rule of law, we find things such as of course, Menka Gandhi is the first thing that we write. Okay, so administrative implications of Supreme Court's role of a guardian is this. Okay. What other administrative implications are there? First, it ensures rule of law. Second, what else does it ensure? Let's go back to these two judgments. What does it ensure? Right to life with dignity, it ensures. Right? So this is the administrative implication of it. In this, it ensures speedy trial, efficient administration. Similarly, you must have read in your GS2 about those MC Mehta cases, environmental legislation. So if environment is the focus of the government, or the court is saying, okay, let's discuss a judgment for environment only, a recent judgment, because everybody will write MC Mehta, will write something else. तो लिख लो M.K. Ranjit Singh versus Union of India. M.K. Ranjit Singh versus Union of India. In this case, what happened was, you know that bird, great Indian bustard. Yes. So these are migratory birds that happen to be in Rajasthan and parts of Gujarat. There, huge solar and wind power plants were being installed, and those wind parks, whenever this great Indian bustard, that bird was flying, it was getting hit by those wind pains and dying. And these were very critically endangered birds. So their population was depleting very fast. This is a PIL. This went to the Supreme Court. I guess he's a retired IAS officer, M.K. Ranjit Singh. So M.K. Ranjit Singh went to the Supreme Court using the PIL, and the Supreme Court had to balance two things. One, you have to, of course, protect the wildlife, but you cannot stop India's push towards renewable energy. Yes. So that means it's a judgment on sustainable development. So what are the implications? So the Supreme Court said, whatever you are doing, it should not impact these wildlife in such a manner that their everyday or their existence becomes a threat. So that means development has to be in line with the environment, right? So in environmental legislation, or when it comes to the interpretation of constitution to favor the environment, this is one of those landmark cases. So Supreme Court provided a lot of guidelines that how these developmental activities has to take place. So what is the administrative implication of this? Is of sustainable development. That administration, any kind of infrastructural activity they are doing, or any kind of policy making they are doing for any kind for these kinds of development, it has to take into consideration the environmental factors of it. Yes. I'll give certain judgments, then only you guys will understand. Because such questions are tough to deal without them. So tomorrow we'll start with the issues. Yeah. We'll start with the issues and we'll complete a lot of things. Let's end the class then. you.